Yo guys, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video we are live at Pinery Residences. So for Pinery Residences, we are already about 90+% sold, and for today's video, right, I want to discuss about the remaining units that is still available, whether they are worth entering in today's market or are they actually overpriced. And with the help of the show flat model later on, I will talk about the differences in terms of the stacks, and also using the show flat model later on, I will talk about the layout itself. So for those of you that's interested, you don't want to miss this. Today's recording, there is still this one last 4-bedroom that is below $3 million at Pinery. Using this unit, right, I will also compare with the 4-bedder transactions at Treasure at Tampines, so that you guys can kind of see whether this is actually a good buy or is it overpriced in today's market. Today's video overview, right, I'll be talking about what's left at Pinery Residences, Tampines Momentum, and also Treasure at Tampines case study, followed by supply and exit, and last but not least, my verdict for both buyers and sellers. So before we talk about what's remaining at Pinery Residences, for those of you that don't know what's going on over here, you can see here we have the newspaper article already said that Pinery Residences managed to sell 92.5% of the units at launch day and is at 2546 PSF. Definitely, I think the momentum here at Tampines, along with the demand, right, is very strong. And I'm actually very confident if Pinery, it was a much bigger project, maybe they have 1000+ units similar to Parktown, the take-up rate will be similar as well. So now I want to briefly touch on what are the remaining units left at Pinery. Today, right, because there's only 4-bedders available, I will just be focusing on the 4-bedders, okay? So here you can see for the 4-bedrooms transactions, right, the range is between 2.842 million, and then the average we're looking at 3.1 million range. And then we even have the highest range of 3.597 million already done at Pinery. Moving on, when we look at the units remaining, right, you can see for the 4-bedroom plus study, we have 30 units remaining. The lowest one is at 2.97 million, averaging at 3.28 million, and the higher range is at 3.629 million. For today's main focus, I want to look at the 1195 square feet 4+ study layout type lah. And this one, right, you can see 3 out of 36 units are remaining. So the other 33 units already all cleared out. And the remaining units here, cheapest one is at 2.972 million, averaging 3.2 million, and the highest one here remaining is already 3.32 million. So now moving on to the next component, we want to talk about the 4-bedroom unit selection. So for this, right, I only choose from different stacks and then we compare based on the same floor to ensure that at least based on the floor height, there is no difference in the premium for that lah. Yeah, so it would be purely based on the facings and also the size of the unit itself. So the stacks that we are going to be comparing, right, is between stack 8 and versus stack 30. So I will show you here on the plan itself, and then you can see for stack 8, so this one will be here, is facing along the main street lah. So this is also facing towards the upcoming BTO. Later I will touch a little bit more on that. But other than that, the other stack, right, is this stack 30 over here that is inward facing, but at least it's not facing directly on the road. So definitely stack 8 will be a little bit more noisy. So these are the two main stacks that I'll be focusing on today. So right now we're going to be talking about the model and we want to focus on stack 8, okay? So you can see for stack 8, right, we are actually facing directly the entrance for Pinery Mall. And also the unit we are talking about is 0308. So although it is on the 3rd floor, right, it is considered ground floor at Pinery Residences because it's due to the elevation from the shopping mall itself. Yeah, so do bear in mind it's probably like in the 4th floor kind of range rather than just like on 3rd floor. For stack 30, this is an inward facing one. Okay, and that over here is 0330 here. So now that we already know the facings for stack 8 versus stack 30, right? One is facing outside main road, the other one is facing inwards pool, but both on the same floor. I want to compare on the pricing and also the layout, okay? So for stack 8, the 4+ study is at 2.972 million, 1195 square feet at 2487 PSF. Whereas for stack 30, this is also a 4+ study and the price is at 3.124 million, 1227 square feet at 2546 PSF. Other than the different facing, right, these two layout also has a slight difference in terms of the square footage. So in this case, the price gap is about 150k when you compare between these two different 4+ studies. So right now, I want to discuss, right, the differences in terms of layout between these two 4+ studies. So first thing first, I want to talk about Stack 8. This one, right, you can see the main difference here is in the storeroom. So instead of a conventional bomb shelter where the walls are a lot thicker, here you have the storeroom, right, the walls are a lot thinner, and you do have the option to hack it. This one really depends on whether you want to keep it as a storeroom maybe for helper or just store your stuff, or you want to open up your dining area to make into like an open kitchen. You can even have an island there. That's totally up to you. You can see for the main entrance walkway, right, they never really state the exact size there, but you can see the total living room size is 38.8 square meters. Okay, so later on you need to remember this number when you compare to the slightly bigger 4+ study. Now when we look at the 4+ study for the 1227 square feet on Stack 30, right, you can see actually the entire unit is exactly the same in terms of measurements except the living room square footage. Okay, so over here we have is 40.6 square meters. So of course, like I mentioned, the difference is in the foyer. This one is slightly longer, so it really depends on what you're looking for. But for me, from a numbers perspective, you can't really do too much in the foyer. I will regard that as a bit of a wasted space. And the second difference here is on the household shelter. So just like I mentioned, the smaller storage room on the Stack 8 one is at 3.4 square meters. Whereas for this one, the household shelter, because of the thicker walls and probably slightly longer, this is at 4 square meters. But for me, I think generally storage space, right, you don't need so big, you just need to have enough and you just want it as efficiently as possible. So that's why I think when I compare between the two, just based on layout itself, I think Stack 8 actually is a much better layout compared to Stack 30. Okay, so we are entering from the balcony area, and then you can see this is like the main living dining area. And I think I just want to focus on the entrance foyer, right? Then you can see how the developer actually try to maximize the space here. Here, you can see at the bottom, right, they actually create the empty space for the robot, okay? And over here also, they got try to install carpentry. And other than that, realistically here, right, you can still do another shelving, but that one really depends on how you want to maximize the space. But other than that, this is like the space that you will be like empty. Yeah, so this is what you want to focus on when you compare just now the two layouts. And you can see now, you are heading into the wet kitchen area, right? This one is the bomb shelter. Okay, so the bomb shelter over here, definitely you can see it will be slightly thicker, the walls is slightly thicker, but at least this is what you can kind of get in this bomb shelter size. You guys visualize a little bit better, you can see over here I put the site plan with the surrounding block heights. So for Stack 8, right, you're going to be facing towards the new BTO site, but you're not facing a BTO building directly. You can see that the developer, they purposely put the tennis court and the other stuff on the left side that is facing towards the BTO, whereas the two blocks that is facing towards the BTO one, right, they put it facing towards the park that is designated for this BTO development. So I definitely think in terms of views, it's still not too bad. At least you're not going to be facing HDB blocks directly. And I look at this area itself, right, definitely Stack 30 is going to be facing towards the other block. So in terms of the block to block setback, it's quite near. Whereas at least Stack 8, right, you're facing outwards, so the distance is going to be quite far away. You have quite a distance in terms of the setback. But of course, because you're facing the road, so there'll be significantly more noise as compared to Stack 30. At least this is what I observe over here. Okay, in summary, for the 4-bedroom unit selection, right, personally, I will go for Stack 8 because I'm able to save on 150k, and at the same time, the Stack 30 additional square footage, I don't think it's really gonna be a game changer when we compare between the two layouts. And personally, this area, right, I think even for Stack 30, if you are facing inwards, you should still be able to get some of the road noise because you are the 4-bedder that is facing, not facing the road directly, but you are quite close to the main road already. Whereas Stack 8, of course, you're going to be facing directly on the main road, but you're going to be having a much further setback. So actually for me, I think Stack 8 makes a lot more sense as compared to Stack 30. Maybe you guys can leave in the comment section what you guys think. So the next thing I want to touch on is this thing called the Tampines Momentum. To sum it up, what does Tampines Momentum actually mean? So this falls into 3 parts, okay? First thing is actually the buyer demand, okay? And then second part is the transaction momentum. Third one is the willingness to pay. I'm a strong believer in following momentum, especially when it comes to property, but it doesn't mean that I just blindly buy the prices at whichever property, even though there is a lot of transactions going on over there. I think there is still a reasonable entry price that you need to look out for, but generally having strong momentum really helps with the price action. It's important to look at areas where there is buyer demand, transaction volume, and also the willingness to pay above the last transaction prices. So this one is where we always see there's new highs breaking out, and I do see Tampines creating a lot of this over the past few years. Having served quite a few clients in the East, I do know that they're actually very sticky over here. A lot of them, they like the Tampines area because of the schools, because of the mature estate, the amenities, shopping mall, even their parents also stay nearby. So they don't want to leave the area too far. So generally, people are still willing to pay this kind of price tag, especially within Tampines itself, even though it's quite far away from the city centre. Honestly, when I compare between developments, right, I will always want to go towards an area or a district where buyers already has demonstrated demand at the $2.5 million, $2.83 million price tag for that district. Whereas when you compare to another project where their main unique selling point is I'm a cheap RCR project, I'm very close to OCR prices. This one I feel like yes, there might be some merit to it, but it doesn't really say the full picture as to what is the buyer's acceptance into this cheap RCR area. What if next time you are also still selling cheap? So this is the main differentiation factor that I can see between the various developments. Later on, I will also touch on Treasure at Tampines. Then you can see through this case study, right, I think a lot of people said about the COVID effect helping the prices go up. So I want to touch on the prices also post DOP. Right? Then you can see whether there is continued demand in this Tampines area without the COVID effect. So you want to stay tuned for that. You can see this is the Tampines 4-bedroom price, and this is for the new launch site. So for Parktown, right, you can see I just want to focus more on the quantum. Minimum price already at 2.955 million, and then average price about 3.2, almost 3.3, and we got the upper range of 3.56 million already done. And the other one is also Pinery Residences over here. So we already have the minimum range of 2.722 million all the way to 3.494 million. These prices are already done on the new launch site. Now for the resale for the Tampines 4-bedder, you also can see, like for example, Tampines Trillion. The price tag minimum price already 2.238 million, averaging is about 2.6, and we got a maximum price of 3.5 million done. Of course, the size is going to be a lot bigger, but besides the size, right, we already know that there's appetite at 3.5 million even for this XEC projects. Notable EC, this is also known as City Life at Tampines. For this one, you can see minimum price is at 2.185 million, averaging 2.4, and then the highest range already hit 3.38 million as well. And do bear in mind, this is also a XEC. So for all these XEC, and you must know the distance to MRT for these two EC, right, it's not even that near, and they already can hit 3 million plus. Very clear, there is very strong demand for Tampines resale property. And last but not least, we have Treasure at Tampines. So you can see minimum for the 4-bedders already at 2.278 million, averaging 2.45 million, and upper range of 2.68 million. And you must also know, later on I will talk about Treasure at Tampines location. This is definitely much weaker in terms of location versus Pinery Residences. Right now, moving on, I want to talk about the Treasure at Tampines case study. First thing I want to talk about is actually the price. So did the price continue to move after the unit's DOP, or was it really all profits due to just the COVID itself? So right now you can see this is the price chart for Treasure at Tampines 4-bedder. At the launch phase, right, the prices in Q1 2019 was at 1294 PSF, and then you can see over the entire launch period, right, up to Q3 2023 where it DOP, the prices climbed until 1006 PSF range. So this actually recorded 30% increase in terms of price. I mean, some people can say it's due to the COVID effect or the developer staging effect. I think this one, I just want to put it aside, but just acknowledge that the prices here went up by 30% in a short 4-year period. So now this is the key part that I want to touch on, because because I think a lot of people mentioned about the COVID effect, but now right, you can see from Q3 2023 when we move until this year Q2 2026, so this is about less than 3 years, about 3 years period and from TOP stage until today, right, we can see the prices actually continue to climb up despite being in the resale phase. Okay, so this is already post-COVID in 2023 timeframe, and today we actually see a record high in terms of the average transactions at 1009 PSF. So even for the second owners that bought at Treasure at Tampines at the sub-sale stage, right, they already have a very nice gain of 17% since TOP. So definitely, I think in terms of numbers and demand here, already very strong. Actually, what sustained the prices for Treasure at Tampines after TOP? So definitely the first one will be the very deep Tampines upgraded demand, because here we know it's one of the most populated districts in Singapore. And second one will be the limited 4-bedroom supply. This one I will elaborate a little bit more later on when we go deeper into the numbers. And the third one is, I think, also rising replacement costs. As you can see, even for the XEC that I mentioned just now, the cost, some of the 4-bedders already hit 3 million plus. They want to look at the newer projects like Treasure at Tampines, they have to forego a little bit on the travelling distance to MRT lah. And also, last but not least, is the higher accepted quantum in terms of prices in Tampines, as we already can see at 2EC. So that's why I think the units at Treasure at Tampines, also not surprising to me, that already managed to transact 2.6, almost 2.7 in the resale market. So right now, I want to take a closer look right on the district level using the volume itself. For the first one, I just want to talk about the 4-bedroom volume in Tampines. Okay, so of course, this one includes all the new launch transactions at Parktown and also Pinery. This one might boost up the numbers a little bit, but at least just bear with me. At least you know that there is 429 past transactions over the past 1 year for the 4-bedders. So definitely very, very strong demand. But if you look at the resale side, right, you only have 133 listings available. So definitely there's a very big difference in terms of supply and demand over here for the 4-bedders. So right now I want to add on more criteria so that it's more similar towards Pinery Residences. Then you can see I've added the criteria of within 500 meters towards MRT, and also the TOP date between 2016 all the way to 2026 to exclude 2 old properties and also exclude all the new launches one. Then you can see here we have 6 projects with past 60 transactions, so very, very healthy here. And then you can see on the resale listing side, we have 6 projects with 37 resale listings. In terms of supply and demand, it's already very healthy. One thing that struck me, right, is that we have a very high transacted prices in terms of the past transaction. You can see already transacted 2.72 million with these criteria. And then for the resale listing, you already got prices asking at 3.05 million as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is the distance for the MRT, right, for Treasure at Tampines. So over here you can see this is Treasure at Tampines on the map itself. So we are right beside the Tampines Round Market lah. So usually from the residents' feedback, they go towards Simei MRT, right? They need to cross the overhead bridge over the PIE lah. If not, usually they will take the bus to go towards Tampines area. They wouldn't walk to Tampines West MRT station because that distance I think is really too far away already. I mean, if you have to cross the overhead bridge, I would say maybe your distance in terms of time is slightly more than 10 minutes. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you can reach Simei MRT that fast, especially if you need to cross the overhead bridge. So let's dive deeper into Treasure at Tampines. Over here, even though on paper they say TOP 2024, we already start to see the transactions in the sub-sale phase happening in Q3 2023 lah. And this is a mega development, 99-year leasehold, 2,200 units. You can see based on the transactions, right, we have 19 past transactions over the past 1 year, and the price range is between 2.27 all the way to 2.68 million. Now when we look at the number of resale listings, it's very little. We only have 5 resale listings available, and the asking price is between 2.63 million all the way to 2.75 million range. When you look at the supply and demand ratio, right, 19 transactions over the past 1 year versus 5 resale listings, it's a very clear sign that the demand is a lot more than the supply here. When to do some digging on the listings available, you can see the cheapest one, right, is this 4-bedder 1,002 square feet at 2.63 million already. And easily at this range, you are only 50k away from the highest transacted at the Treasure at Tampines. And you can see the other 4-bedders 1,003 square feet onwards one, right, they are already asking minimum at 2.75 million. I think one of them is a duplicate, so this will bring down the actual number of units even lesser, and they are asking at 2.75. I think if they hold it out a bit longer very likely they should be transacting minimally at 2.7 million range already. So right now, right, I want to talk about the particular unit at Treasure at Tampines comparing to this Pinery unit. And you can see for this 4+ study at Pinery Residences, this is a harmonized layout, right? And then you can see the price is at 2.972 million, 1195 square feet, 2487 PSF. Whereas when you compare to this Treasure at Tampines one, this is non-harmonized, already transacted at 2.68 million, 1324 square feet, 2024 PSF. You have to adjust for the harmonization. You need to plus 5% for the 4-bedroom at Treasure at Tampines. So definitely in terms of pricing, right, I think PSF wise, we haven't even adjust for the age. It's going to be very, very close already. Later on, I will show the adjustment for the harmonization and also the lease reset. Based on these two units, right, the price gap, you also need to account for distance towards MRT, 1 km to St. Hilda's. Other than all that, right, you can see just on the layout itself here for Pinery Residences, instead of the study area, it's like kind of the bedroom 3 for Treasure at Tampines. You can see the living room area is a landscape layout versus Treasure at Tampines one. Of course, Pinery Residences, the kitchen is slightly longer for the countertop, whereas Treasure at Tampines one is a bit shorter, but they have a bigger yard in the Treasure at Tampines. Overall, if you look at the kind of wasted space that Treasure at Tampines has, actually it's a lot more efficient because you see their foyer area, right, is directly connected to the dining room area, whereas for Pinery there is this like slight walkway from the foyer until the kitchen, then they hit into the dining area. Other than that, I would think actually in terms of the attributes for the entire development, distance to MRT or that, and layout, right, I think actually for 300k gap is very, very reasonable because we see already hit 2.68 million. Then I think for a new mixed use development that the MRT is right below also, I think very convenient, and just 300k more, definitely I think entry price is quite safe. Just now, like I mentioned, at this price range, right, 2.68 million, 1324 square feet, 2024 PSF, after I do the lease reset and with the 5% harmonization, right, it actually works out to be 2287 PSF for this Treasure at Tampines unit. And of course, you need to add in the premium for St. Hilda's Primary School, the Pinery Mall, and also Tampines West MRT. When you include all these three aspects together, right, does 2004 PSF, 2005 PSF at Pinery Residences actually seem like a stretch? Or is it actually a safe entry price? This one maybe you guys can let me know, because to me, the answer is quite clear. Just to show you guys what is the developer's direction, right, for the tenants over here, you can see for the shopping mall, these are the anchor tenants that the developer kind of already get. So for grocery, right, we already have Fair Price, and then we also have secured Kopitiam. Okay, of course the vision, they have retail, fast food, some of the education center, tuition center, cafe, salon, you even have clinic. And generally, you can see this is the vision that they're going to be doing for Pinery Residences. And then you can see the size, 650 square meters for preschool, 1,150 square meters for supermarket, 30 F&B brands, 10 food court stores, retail, and then community plaza, and you got the sheltered through block link access. And also you got the pedestrian underground link to the MRT. Okay, so for the next part, I want to talk about the Treasure at Tampines 4-bedroom supply. Then you can see here the total number of units at Treasure at Tampines is at 363 4-bedders. This is a mega development, right? But you can see just now, like I mentioned, we only have 5 units on sale. 5 out of 363, right? At this current point of time, we only have about 1.3% of units on sale. So definitely a lot of the owners there, majority are buying for own stay. That's why you don't see many units on sale. So in conclusion, the case study at Treasure at Tampines, right, really does show me that the buyers at Tampines is very sticky. They don't really want to move out of Treasure at Tampines, and at the same time, there is a lot more demand versus the supply there. As a result, you can see the price momentum is still very strong despite it being further away from MRT, don't really have a lot of school factor, and is still a mega development as well. So now moving on, let's do the Pinery 4-bedroom exit test. So right now, I want to look at volume because I think price alone, just now we already touched on it. What if there's only one unit transacting? It doesn't really show enough of a full picture over here. So if there's enough transactions, then I think the transaction price is a valid play. So now I want to focus from TOP stage all the way until today, Q2 2026, right? you can see for the first year during the TOP stage, we only had 19 4-bedroom transacted. And then after that, right, once we hit the CSC stage, we actually have a total of 68 4-bedders being transacted. And this one most likely is already in the resale, like full resale stage. And then you can see just based off this total number of units, right, we have a lot more units that hasn't even been transacted at Treasure at Tampines. It means a lot of all these 4-bedroom buyers, most of them are genuine own stay owners. You can see for the 4-bedders, if you collate everything together, right, we only have 87 out of 363 units sold since the TOP. So this one makes up about 23%. So means the other 77% of the owners, right, they are not looking to do a quick flip, at least in the first few years. I do expect this kind of stickiness to also happen for Parktown or even Pinery Residences. What is happening at Treasure and Tampines might not be the exact same case for Pinery Residences when it TOP, but what I'm trying to say here, at least this gives me a lot of confidence, and Tampines 4-bedder definitely will remain very liquid because there is not enough sellers on the market. So if you end up as a seller maybe 4 years down the road, right, you should be not fighting with a lot of other sellers, if even at Treasure at Tampines, despite it being a mega development. And you can see for Pinery, definitely you have a lot lesser 4-bedders to fight with. Some of you might be asking me this, why not just buy Treasure at Tampines since I'm already so bullish on it? To be very fair, I've talked about Treasure at Tampines to some of my clients 2-3 years ago at the sub-sale stage, or even last year, but I think a lot of them, they couldn't accept Treasure at Tampines as like an investment property because they were kind of entering at a high price for Tampines area. Definitely there were still other options available even at the new launch or in a more attractive location. That being said, you can compare, right, like Treasure at Tampines is a bigger floor plate area, you can move in immediately, it's a proven resale, mature facilities. But I think when you compare to Pinery, it is a newer layout, it's harmonization, you can have progressive payment, fresh lease, and also new mall, new amenities. I think the key question over here is that you need to ask yourself, how much should I be paying Pinery over Treasure at Tampines? Because I think in the end, one has an immediate resale occupation, but the other one you still need to wait it out at least 3-4 years until the TOP period. In the end, you need to ask yourself which one suits your needs more, which one suits your family needs more, rather than just pinpointing which one is better. Because some people might feel, I can save on the 300k, I go and buy a car, isn't that better? But maybe for some other people, wow, I'd rather just put the money into the property so at least I can leverage up, then maybe I can get more capital appreciation versus if I were to spend the money on a car. So I think these are two different camps, but it's just more of which one is a better buy for your family at this point of time. In summary, right, what is my conclusion? To be honest, I'm not trying to predict the exact selling price of Pinery Residences. I only care about two main things, okay? So the first one is actually the entry support price. Am I actually entering close enough to an established resale market? I think from the Treasure at Tampines case study, right, I definitely do think we are in a very safe entry price because we are not overpaying by a lot. And the second part is actually the future liquidity for this Tampines area. Has the market actually shown that these 4-bedders can transact even after TOP? And I think since Treasure also support this particular theory, right, then I definitely think Pinery Residences 4-bedder does make a lot of sense as well. Just to share a little bit of my thoughts, right, definitely I don't think the future 4-bedroom buyers, they are your HDB upgraders, because you see now you enter about 3 million quantum, right, you need to exit 3.6, 3.7 million. Definitely those are not the usual quantum that HDB upgraders will look at. If you bought into the 3-bedder earlier, which they had at the launch phase, I think that one still can appeal towards HDB upgraders. Here, right, it will be towards, I think, people looking to upgrade from their current private property or even like downgrade from landed side. I think that should be your main market. But looking at the limited number of 4-bedroom on sale, I still think there is a strong market for it. So for my advice for buyers that is still considering around your options, right, generally don't just buy because like it's the last unit below 3 million. I think it's important to go through like this kind of analysis that I've just shared with you guys. And also, ideally, you want to compare the stacks that's available first. For example, how I analyze between stack 8, stack 30, and look at the premium, look at whether the resale nearby like Treasure at Tampines, whether there is a resale price support. Don't obsess whether it's a OCR or RCR, but rather this project in this area, do you see a future seller or not? And think about the total quantum. and understand who is your next buyer. Just now you see, right, based on how I break down Treasure at Tampines and also Pinery Residences, I'm using the VAL framework, and you can see the different components on how I actually compare the resale versus new launch or the new launch versus the resale. Alright, so that's it for today. I hope you guys like my video so far, and for those of you that is interested in this unit or just contemplating what are your options, you can always feel free to WhatsApp me at 8484-9302. I'm more than happy to give you advice or a second opinion. So if you that like this content so far, you can feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Also, you can check out my YouTube channel where I've done other deep dive analysis on new launches and also resale projects. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks guys. Bye.